All right. Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are well. So, next time I go cash overnight, you should just buy everything. That's the cue. That's the new signal for TRT. If I go cash, you buy everything. All right. Nvidia up 906 at the highs this morning. Um, I was wrong. Yesterday with yesterday's closing, you figure with these toppy candles on Nvidia, right? That today might be kind of all right, but that's a spinning top candle, and now we're gapping up once again with Nvidia here. It's going 906 at the high, so you're gonna have a gap at 898, possibly, yeah, 898, and you got a gap at 862. And then you got a gap at 823. All right. Um, this is dangerous. All right. And I'm not saying that to be a bear. I'm eventually, I think Nvidia is going to go to 1,000 and they're going to split the stock. And that's what it looks like. I mean, they are just buying the dip every single time on every single day this week on Nvidia. Now, you do have AVGO. Broadcom is going to report this afternoon, right? Um, you know, I this is hard to buy. It's a 1350. It's $1,350 right now. It's jumped back up towards yesterday's high. All right, 1380, approximately 1380. This is hard to buy up here, guys. It really is. However, go with it, right? For Broadcom's earnings tonight, I might just buy Nvidia. The reason being is that it's a implied move of 120, and so you're gonna have to buy close to in the money, and they're like 30-40 bucks a contract. All right. So this is it's you could get burned on IV alone. All right. So instead of playing that, Nvidia contracts in comparison are a little bit cheaper if you go like April. All right. And so we've been flipping the April contracts this week and been pretty successful at it. I think I did about 4 trades and hit three. 3 out of 4 isn't bad. All right, on Nvidia. So let's see what happens in a day. I love a dip. There's a gap at 884 on Nvidia. Now that it hits to 900, right? Usually Nvidia typically makes the moves in the pre-market. Once they make the move, then there's been times where I've seen, okay, it comes straight back down to fill a gap, or it just does nothing all day and consolidates ahead of earnings today. So that's something to watch today. All right. Apple. Apple actually green, right? It was green yesterday pre-market, and they went and made a new lower low during pre-market today, and back up $70. I want to see if Apple can actually clear 170 today. If it can clear 170 or close above 170, then okay, maybe there's a possibility, since it's so oversold, at least a bounce play into filling this gap at 174 range, 172 resistance. Close over that, maybe some gap fill is due for Apple. All right. So looking at Apple today, Nvidia, of course, AVGO earnings. All right. Marvel is another one, right? All these chip stocks have made significant moves already with major gaps below, but I think AVGO is the one that's going to kind of tell us, okay, well, is Nvidia going to go higher? Or is it time to reset? All right. So you certainly don't want to, if you're a bull on the market right now, you certainly don't want Broadcom to miss or be sell the news. If they sell the news on AVGO, it's going to be quite dramatic in terms of what happens to SMCI, Supermicro, and what happens to Nvidia, especially. And SMCI can move hundreds of dollars every single night. All right. So SMCI up, okay, it's up about $10 here. Not too bad. So SMCI has been kind of consolidating in this area as well. All right. So of course, let's talk about SPY. So I went cash overnight, and they're running up the market. Okay. So as we've been discussing for last several days now or weeks, is this crazy trend line, right? We popped over it, fake out, come back down to 504, right back up. All right. red engulfing candle so far has been met with higher high and higher low. All right. And that is also the case this morning so far, higher highs and higher lows here at 5/12/22. All right. So, my plan so far today is okay. I'm not buying any calls up here, unfortunately, right? Yesterday we tried that. All right, look what happened. All right, they rejected the 512 area because they filled the gap. All right, they filled one SPX gap, and now you got a 509 gap down here. All right, and you still have that 507 gap. Okay. Now I'm kind of thinking, okay, it's not coming back down. They're running this up for NFP or CPI on Tuesday. Powell up at 10 a.m. Jobless data, was pretty cool. All right, so cool data. So they're running up the market. Now, if we end up somewhere up here at 514 today, then I'm going to buy some puts overnight. All right, but if we come back down, at least cool off a little bit here at 511, 510 might be great areas to buy again. Okay. But I'm not buying calls up here. All right. Only because the risk to reward is reduced. Okay. You look at what happened yesterday. All right. So we had a reset on Tuesday morning or Tuesday evening. They reset the stochastic, ran it up. We caught this move here. Okay. Come back, retest the trend line, overshoot the trend line, and boom, right back into trend. Breakout is 513 into 514. And you look at the stochastic once again, it's actually overbought on the 30-minute. And that gets dangerous because that 30-minute typically starts resetting overnight or to some point in the afternoon. 1 hour is back up, and also your 4-hour stochastic. Now your 4-hour stochastic has some room, right? And this has been the story of this trend ever since, let's say, December. December timeframe, weakness here, all right? But typically over the last 4 cycles on the stochastic, it's always been about these clouds here. Okay. Troy will say equal lows, but I say clouds. All right. So you dip into this cloud, it gets bought up, dip into this cloud, gets bought up, dip past the cloud, gets bought up. Right. And guess what? Same thing 2 days ago. Right. Get into the cloud and buy it back up. Okay. Because the stochastic got too low. All right. So once it starts breaking these clouds, it gets a little choppy, or once it kind of hangs out around these clouds, it kind of gets choppy. But then once it breaks out, it goes for a pretty good move. All right. So if you remember our weekly video from last week, we had a downside target of 508, and we hit that. And we actually went to 504, 505, right? So that was a little dramatic. And our upside target is still going to be 515 this week. And it's going to have to come down to really good data on NFP, or they ignore NFP tomorrow and just move on directly to CPI. Okay. So 515 is still in the works, and we're here at 512. So not too bad. I mean, pretty solid range this week, right? To play if you are bear animal. All right. So you can see that at least on the weekly candle, right? We pretty much just traded yet last week's range. If NFP is bad, then yeah, it's possibly set up for a new for a red week. All right. But if it is great, then you just end up tomorrow. You might just weekly candle, but just might overshoot a little bit to 515 on a green hammer. All right. So that's what we're looking at today. So once again, I'm going to have to sit out this morning and just kind of watch. Like I said, I'm not interested in calls up here, even though it's like, wow, okay. I'm like, I want to FOMO this, right? But I'm hoping for a little bit of a dip this morning to get back in. All right. This is an ugly bug on TrendSpider. Okay. All right. So a little bit of dip back into 511, 510 would be fantastic. Maybe even fill this gap to 509. That would be awesome. All right. So that's the plan today. Buy puts up top and buy some calls when we get a nice dip. And then we will play some NVIDIA tonight for earnings on AVGO, on Broadcom, and Apple. Apple close above 170 be fantastic. or if it's pre-market lows. Okay. All right, boys. I'll see you guys back in a bit. Have a great one.